All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Young and Excellent channel /show /podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and all the fun things. So make sure to like, follow, and subscribe, please, and thank you. But we are a platform showcasing young talent, young entrepreneurs, young people in Sarnia, Lambton County in general, I guess. We've had some county folks on the show, but we love that you came back to watch this or listen. So thank you so much, and let's get on with the episode. And thank you so much to the Sarnia Journal for uplifting us, empowering us, and sponsoring us. If you guys haven't subscribed to their daily email blast, definitely do that ASAP Rocky, because it is super important to stay in the know with your community, and local news literally will save lives. So we all need to do our part and follow. Thank you, Sarnia Journal. On today's episode, we have Jamie from Cedarwood, which is actually downtown Sarnia. It's a vintage clothing and houseware store, which is incredible, and I can't wait to check it out. But we hope you enjoy this conversation that is full of fashion wisdom. It's full of just great life advice. And honestly, Jamie is just chef's kiss. She is incredible, and you'll love this conversation. So yeah, have fun and enjoy. Well, welcome to the show. It is so good to have you. So tell me about yourself. Did you grow up in Sarnia?
No, so I'm from Sudbury originally. I've been in the Sarnia area I'm into 7 years now, so it's been a good chunk of time.
Yeah,
but,
7 years. I feel like you're basically like a citizen of Sarnia. Yeah.
I didn't think that I would be here for this long, and now I think it's home. So
well, and plus, like, nothing beats Sarnia in the summers. Like, nothing, even spring and fall. Winter's when it gets a little dicey, but like, you know, it's fine. In those other months, it's great. But what brought you to Sarnia?
So I'm an environmental technician by trade, and I moved here to work in the plants. I was doing demolition jobs, doing hazardous material management, essentially.
That is so cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you've been very passionate about the environment then your whole life, or is that just something you kind of stumbled upon?
I would say it's always been a part of my life. Outdoors have been a key part of interests and activities growing up. So I've been very lucky also to be exposed to a lot of outdoor things. So yeah, when school came to that time for choosing, it really felt like a no-brainer to end up in the environmental field.
Wow. So you're opening up a secondhand clothing store, or is it open right now?
So we're into our third week of official brick and mortar open. We've been doing it this will be just about 4 years. Wow. It started out on the side initially, and then we have been doing it just about a year full time now.
Wow. So is there a huge link? Because sustainable fashion, I think, is really, really important. So is that a huge link for you and like your environmental passions?
Absolutely. I didn't think about it until later, the connection of how that came to be, but fashion is obviously an extension of our personalities and how we are able to showcase ourselves. However, when you actually look behind the scenes, fashion and textile waste is the leading contributor to the landfills. Yeah. So I've always been someone who's been interested in fashion and being able to represent ourselves in the way that we dress. However, now that I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's kind of like, it makes absolute sense that I have now leaned into this side of the environmental reach of diverting from the landfill by advocating awareness for it. Yeah,
wow. And then also I just find that like you have such a juxtaposition there. That you're doing demolition in the plant, and then now you're doing vintage clothing.
Yeah, so
and that's a beautiful juxtaposition. I think that shows the spectrum of who you are.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Also never thought I would end up doing demolition. Coming into the environmental field, I think initially it was like trees and outdoors and all those lovely thoughts. But then, side note, if you're from Sarnia or have ever been involved in the oil and gas industry, it's very apparent what that impact is as well. So being involved in that industry, it was also neat to know that I was doing a positive aspect of how to reclaim land in that field.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. So why Cedarwood then? Because obviously now I'm like, oh, the name is making sense.
Just essentially, cedars are a pretty special tree all around. When you're looking to start a business, you start throwing away or around many different names, and that one was just one that kind of stuck. I like the collective part of it, to be able to incorporate and include people into the dynamic of it as it evolved naturally.
Yeah.
So definitely just trees are where I'm at, and cedars are just a little bit special in a sense.
That is so cool, just because you're doing so many different things in what you're speaking about, but it all has that common thread. And I think that's really beautiful. Are you an artist? I'm just asking because, like, you know.
I'm really good at cut and paste. But however, when you're stylizing outfits and putting things together, there is a sense of art that can go into that. So yes, I like beauty. I like different aspects, but no, like I'm not a painter or a singer in that traditional
That's still
sense.
art though. Fashion
but
is
yes,
art.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because just the through line, I always see that pattern in artists. Because I find I have a through line too with everything that I do, and it's always like has to do with like something with performing and getting on a mic of some kind. And so just to see that through line for you, that's so cool, and it like makes me really want to buy into everything you're doing just because it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
So in terms of where we can find your shop, where is it?
So we opened, it's 176 Christina Street North, so we're kind of right in the heart of downtown.
Oh, nice.
We're beside Common Sense and across from Blackwater Coffee.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, you'll see us there. We opened on April 12th. We're going to do posted hours Thursday through Sunday, and then by appointment Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you can always reach out directly to have that a little more customized experience, or access just by yourself as well, to create a little less stress in the shopping experience.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I know that obviously sustainable fashion is a big part of why you're doing this, but also vintage clothing is a very specific niche. So why did you choose that?
I've always been a garage sale person, a thrift store shopper growing up. I think ultimately I might have been born in the wrong era of clothing. I don't know, you look through fashion over the years, and the evolution of it, I think like the 60s and the 70s were a time where freedom of clothing really started to expand and be able to show personality that wise. Vintage is not being... They're not making more vintage.
No.
So diverting and saving that is a huge dynamic, because the quality of the clothing it's completely different than what we see now. Items that we're sourcing or looking for have been around for, 30, 40, 50, 60 some years, and they've held up and they've stayed the test of time. So now in that sense, it really is niching who you are. So you could go to a department store and you could walk in and they'll have a t-shirt that there is 9 different t-shirts, the same shirt in 9 different things, which accessibility is a huge thing for folks. So when it comes down to it, sustainable fashion is something you have to work towards. It may not be in everybody's budget right off the hop. Yeah. So there's no shame in how we clothe ourselves. However, in the bigger picture, there is enough clothing or currently to clothe 6 generations of people.
Oh my gosh, 6 generations?
Of who's already existing now.
Wow.
So we don't need new clothes. We need to be able to reuse the clothes that are already here and make them last as long as possible. Yeah. So then that kind of diverts into that secondhand shopping perspective that has changed dramatically in the last little while as well.
Absolutely. I remember when I was in elementary school, the biggest thing was like Value Village, Goodwill, like all these thrift shops were for like poor kids. And I actually grew up in a zone where like we needed those spaces, but my mom would take us to Walmart or like Old Navy and like more like buy there. And I always loved the clothing there. But then when my friends started thrift shopping and they were rich, I was like, oh, and that's when I noticed the shift. It was like, I think I was like in grade 8 when I noticed the shift. And then now everybody wants to do secondhand shopping, which I'm very happy about, but I feel like it's getting kind of overshadowed by online shopping.
I mean, you saw it in the pandemic, essentially, that the amount of resellers that came into the field were a lot. Everybody was at home. They were realizing, you know, oh, I've got a closet full of things that I might not resonate with anymore, or it maybe doesn't fit where I'm at, doesn't represent who I feel like I am. So the easiest way to do that was to get online. However, when we're looking at actual sustainability versus accessibility, online, you can order something right now and it could arrive tomorrow depending on the situation. But if we're thinking about it, it's the choices we make are what impacts how the industry will respond. So yes, it might be easier to order something online, but the quality is probably not going to be there. Majority of clothing that is produced in a year, I think it's 60% will end up in the landfill unsold within that same year. So
yeah, it's a sad reality.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not, it's harder to understand, I think, in North America because we don't see it. It is not on our doorstep. It's being sent to the global south. So it is kind of, we wash our hands of it and it goes out of sight, out of mind for a lot of people. They don't really think about their actual impact. They think, oh, I'm one person, you know. But when we talk online and influencers and different aspects like that, like you'll see an influencer show up online and they'll do a Shein haul of 40 items. And, you know, of that 40 items, how many of that is actually going to stick around for more than a month, more than, you know, also the one outfit, one wear scenario as well.
Absolutely. So, and then who made those clothes? That's another thing too. It's a whole, just, I feel like it's like a tip of the iceberg. And then when you look further, it just gets deeper and deeper and deeper.
That's the thing that people don't even realize. They think, oh, they're trained by the marketing essentially that they're getting a deal. So they think, yes, I'm saving money. This is awesome. You know, I can participate in every trend that is happening, even though you don't need to. You can find a personalized style, or you can go to the thrift store and probably find something that you're looking for in an even more unique way than something that was mass produced.
Absolutely.
But the biggest question for that, kind of going back to what you were just saying, is exactly, if you bought a top for $3.99, how much is the person making that being paid, and what kind of conditions are they working in? So it is a tough topic to start to inform people about, but ultimately it's a slow process to change. So it's not going to be overnight, but the more you talk about it, the more that you normalize the conversation and just provide some resources and education for people, then, you know, you can start to make those impacts or those choices just as you go. You know, you find a local company that makes something, you go for that versus the need to participate in what you're being told is trendy right now. So I think if I have learned anything or have done my research a little bit on like yourself, like you did a lot of like you were involved in theater and aspects like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can imagine like the costuming and all of that, you know, the amount of people that go into making that work for you guys and finding your style. That's kind of how the thrift store works for people when we start to look at it now is if you're 12 or 13 and you're trying to figure out what it is that you want to wear and dress, you can go there and you can buy a couple of items and you're not breaking the bank. It's items that already exist, so they're not new. And then you can kind of personalize how you want to wear and what you want to wear.
And that's what I love the most about it, because along with accessibility too is also sizing. So a lot of vintage clothing is not accessible for a lot of folks because of body type and body image and how the world worked then, and then what people threw out and kept, all that kind of stuff. But I always say to people, like, if you go to the thrift store and you buy a top for $5, you can cut it, you can sew it, you can do whatever you want with it. I will buy like oversized t-shirts and just cut it, and then it's a crop top. And it doesn't matter to me because it's not new. I'm reusing it, and I'm gonna make it work for my body because I'm very curvy. So I've got massive thighs, which I love. I've got big hips, small waist. So I literally have this tied. This was thrifted. This was like $4, I think. But it's just like, you'd have to personalize it. But I feel like our world is in a hustle culture mode, and it makes us get out of our bodies a little bit, and we kind of forget that like we can stop. and take a moment every morning. And again, I know people with kids are gonna be like, yeah, nice try. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's like circumstances on everybody's doorstep that force them to not go down that road.
Nope.
But I love what you're saying, because you're understanding of that while also saying, we are here to work with you. Like those one-on-one set. I love that idea for your store.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a little bit more of an intimate setting in that dynamic. So to kind of start it out, like I've had a few already within these first couple weeks, and you know, one gal reached out about, she saw that I sold cowboy boots and she was asking for a specific size. So I made an appointment with her. I took a couple minutes out of my time, sent her some pictures of what fit the size and what she was kind of looking for. And then she came in so that she could try them on, because those are another example of something that until you actually put it on, you don't know if it's actually going to fit, because sizing has changed dramatically over the years as well, whether it's footwear, whether it's clothing. So it's that's the other downfall of online, right? Is you aren't trying it on. So a lot of people will buy multiple sizes, and then you know, you get the size that fits. That's awesome. But then what do? Are you actually returning those items, or are you donating them now to the thrift store, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, it's just a constant cycle. Yeah, I love that idea. So you said you created it 4 years ago.
The first pop-up I ever did was, it was in 2020. So
did the pandemic have an influence of you switching to entrepreneurship at all? Or was this something you've always just kind of wanted to do?
A bit of both. I mean, I think the pandemic changed a lot for a lot of people in the job dynamic. I was a contract worker and I was essentially based out of Ottawa. So the shuffle of that, I made the choice to stay local in that dynamic. However, I had already been collecting with the intent to do something in this nature for almost 2 years already. So I had the initial thought that I never wanted to run out. I wanted to be able to build an inventory and keep it going so that I could be accessible to everybody. So in that size game, again, I try to be as inclusive as possible in what I'm thrifting. Yes, the sizing is different now than what it was. However, if you look for it, it's there.
Yeah,
so I definitely bring in everything that is accessible within my range for anybody and everybody. But yeah, it's been a behind the scenes thing for numerous years. The pandemic definitely switched how I wanted to operate in my community and in my society as well. So I'm thankful in a sense that it gave me that opportunity. And now here we are kind of making it work a little further.
And so I love what you said earlier in the interview about it's an extension of your personality. And so for you, has that always been something you've just known, or is there a moment where you were like, I get it now?
I think no, because if I look back at pictures of me growing up, there is not a single like theme of like, oh, she's always worn that style. And even now presently, like what I wear today, what I wear tomorrow are like night and day differences. So it's really, I think it's realizing the mood that you're in and being able to do that. I like a variety of things, and even you'll see that in my shop as well. Like I try to cater to a large percentage of folks so that there is maybe something for everybody. But no, I would say there wasn't a specific moment. It was just, it kind of came with the territory to realize that, you know, you and I are different. You and I are going to like different things, but we all need to wear clothes. So there's, you know,
unfortunately in society, it is, you know, maybe not in some communities, but you know, for ours, it is.
It's maybe a little less frowned upon to be dressed.
Yeah, exactly. I love that because in Rihanna's Fenty fashion show, the second one, she was asked this question. And that's why I love what you're saying, because she said the same thing. She was like, it's a mood thing for me. Like if I feel bummy, I'm going to dress like in baggy, bummy clothes. If I feel hot, I'm going to just wear something I feel sexy in. in. But like I feel like I dress like that too. Some days I'm like this, then another day I'm like got the ball cap on,
Yep.
I'm all tomboyed out, or I have like full face of makeup. I feel like dressing to your mood, like I don't know what it does, but it really increases my confidence. I don't know why, but I don't know if that's how you feel.
I think that that's not a wrong way to feel at all, because at the end of the day, ultimately everybody just wants to be comfortable in their skin, in their clothes. So if you have access to things that allow that to be a little easier for you, then absolutely.
Yeah.
Personally, it's true. I mean, even throughout the day, I am different people. Like if you see me walking my dog in the morning, I do not look like I might look like if I'm going out at night, or if I, like, for example, coming here, where I'm like maybe a little more intentional with putting an outfit together versus just throwing on what's in my grab reach zone.
Yeah, I love that too, because it gives you flexibility to be authentic. I feel like a lot of times people think authenticity is like this almost static kind of movement where like you're just always the same and people will see you be the same all the time. I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's more like it goes and it ebbs and it flows. That's basically what you were saying. You're dressing to be authentic and authentically yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that something you see reflected in your store?
Definitely. I was asked just recently if I could describe like what my image would be. And for a moment I was stumped, because I was like, wow, I've never really thought about that specifically. I mean, I always, when I'm sourcing and thrifting, I get things I like, and I just assume that other people will hopefully like them as well. But at the end of the day, I definitely have a few different styles that I personally gravitate towards more. But then, like I was saying, like I try to cater to a lot of people. So personally, I find I'm leaning more into like a 70s Western feel.
Yeah, I know. I'm loving this outfit today with the watch too, the little calculator. Oh, so good.
But then I still cater to, you know, some of the street style culture that's there. So a lot of graphic tees are accessible, but if you're looking at them, they're kind of a variation of different things. Like I've got old 60s and 70s graphics, or then there's the more popular, like Harley Davidson is really trendy with a lot, of people.
Oh yeah, big time right now. Especially in this community.
Yes, absolutely. And like there are a lot of there are a lot of motorcyclists in our community. So it is definitely one that people gravitate towards, I find. But
I love that.
Definitely it's a trend too. So people of the younger kind of generation, they definitely follow what they're seeing online in that aspect too. So, but then now that I have the physical location, I'm able to showcase more of the houseware side of things as well. So glasswares and kind of more a little bit of home decor and those like trinkety style things. So if you're looking at that, it's like more cabin core or like boho chic. So I like a lot of, if you were to come into my house, it's like a little gallery. You never really know where to look. There's something everywhere. So it's like maybe a little museum-y, or as some people would say, probably cluttered. But
hey, I'm a clutter person. So I have so many little knickknacks. I buy everything. Like whenever I thrift, it's like I have to hit all the sections. So the fact that you offer all the sections, I'm definitely gonna have to stop by.
Do you have a favorite section that you go to?
Oh, I love housewares. Oh my gosh, I love it. My sister was so kind for my wedding party brunch. She bought all these like vintage like glassware and bowls and all this, and I love it so much. Like I can't wait to have my own house. And then I've already started kind of nesting. Like we have a storage unit. I'm like nesting a little bit, but it's fine. Everything's gonna be okay.
But that's the thing with it, where it's I think anybody who's ever thrifted has felt that gut-wrenching feeling of not purchasing something and then wanting it and going back and it's not there. So that's something,
you just have to do it, you know?
It's, if you like it, it's the chances that it's still going to be there are usually slim to none. So you'll learn it once or twice and then you won't make that mistake again.
No, I've done that a few. That's why I'm like, nope, you know what? I'm going to spend the $2. Bye. Like, I'm fine with it. But what's your favorite section?
I would say, well, everything, because I shop for everything. But if I'm going into the thrift store, like I'll use Value Village for an example. My path is usually directly to the hats. I'll go through the hats first, and then I'll hop back over. I'll do a quick row of the housewares section, and then come back into like the clothing and kind of navigate through there, because that's a larger chunk of time that it'll take me, is the clothing. So I'll kind of do like a little perimeter search, and then I'll get into the thick of like rifling through the racks.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, so this is a question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. I love your tattoos.
Oh, thank you.
I would love to know, do they have meaning, or are they just more of like you just feel it and you just want them?
Well, I never thought I would have any to begin with.
Really? Oh, and your cover, that's awesome.
Yep. So I think I got my first one when I was about 16. My brother and I got kind of a matching one for a little bit of a family heritage feel. And then it was one after another, after another. So some of them maybe have a little more sentimental feeling, but there are some that are definitely, I like the artist and I like what they do. So I would say I'm more of a collector versus a themed person. So yeah, I have a few different artists right now.
Yeah, for those listening, she's got wicked sleeves. Wicked sleeves.
Thank you.
But that is so cool. Thank you for answering.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
I haven't gotten my first tattoo yet.
No?
So I'm like, every time I see tattoo, I'm like, I have to ask, because I want to be like covered. I want sleeves. I want a neck tattoo. I want everything done. I'm just so scared of making that first jump, because I know that it's a lot of money and I know it's an investment, and I just, I want to be all tatted up. I want to shave my head too, but that's for a different day.
Well, for the tattoos, it's I think to make it easier, it's, find a style you want first, find an artist that you like that does that style, and then it makes it easier. Once you get your first one, there's almost no turning back. Most people will say, it's a form of an addiction, we'll say. Like it's an itch you scratch, and or they'll use it in some form of therapy. It's like the release in a sense.
And reclaiming, I've heard that a lot, that people feel like when they get a tattoo that represents a trauma that they've been through, or a death or something, it's like you're reclaiming that and you're back on your feet kind of thing.
And it kind of goes also into that stylize with hand in hand with fashion, where your skin is also an extension of you. So, people, I've gotten that question quite a bit from some of the older generation, why would you do that to your body, And ultimately my answer is always, well, some people will buy art and have it in their house and nobody gets to see it. I choose art that I walk around with. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that perspective. 'Cause that's kind of how I see it too. Because both my sisters are really tatted up. Like they love tattoos and they look so good. Like both of them did a really good job planning it out, and their style, like they did what you said. My sister's getting one covered up though, but it's really cool because she got like geometric patterns over it, and I'm like, that's a really smart way, and she's very much into that because she's very spiritual, so that means a lot for her, right? But okay, so one of my final questions before we move on to all the fun, like where can we find you? I would love to know, for anybody listening or watching, what is the greatest piece of advice you could give them right now?
I would say that things take time. Building your foundation to work towards your bigger picture, it takes time. And I think we get caught up in that hustle culture that things need to happen tomorrow, otherwise you're not successful. If I look at the course of the evolution of Cedarwood, it's been multiple times of being unsure of if I'm doing it right or what the future is going to look like. But at the end of the day, if you're believing in what you want and you're passionate about it, it will work. It just takes time.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people will forget that, and they do forget that. And I find I even forget that. And I think that having room for yourself when you do forget to come back to it, I think that's also really, really important. But why does that stick out in your brain for you? Because of the process of Cedarwood, or just like life?
I think in general, I had this conversation yesterday morning with one of my good friends. She's in the process of doing a new career, and she's education and she's building herself, but the doubt was creeping in. And I compared it to when I first moved here, when I first moved to Sarnia, and I was doing the demolition side of things. I really doubted what I was doing, and that I didn't feel like I was competent in the industry, but it was because I was new. So as I started to invest more. And the longer that I had been doing it, at one point, I finally realized, I looked around and I'm hearing myself speak to people in the field. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, okay, no, I've actually learned a lot and I'm applying these skills. So nothing, like we're not born with all of the knowledge in the world.
No,
life experience, it really does impact the way that our success happens. And if we give up, then we really are taking things away from ourselves at the end of the day. So with Cedarwood, it was the same. There was a vision of wanting to do it. There was the doubt of whether or not that could be successful, or like the imposter syndrome that majority of entrepreneurs will go through is, well, why am I going to be successful? There is already 100 other people doing this. Why am I different?
Yes, absolutely. But I get that. I get that all the time.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it's realizing that it takes time to build, but it's also pushing through that uncomfortable period, and putting yourself out there to be a little bit vulnerable with what you're passionate about.
I love that. And I when you said earlier in the interview that you feel like you were born at a different time, I definitely feel an old soul from you. Oh. You are very wise, and the way you speak is just like, I can just feel the love in your voice. And that's really awesome. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
Where can we find you?
On Instagram, I'm Cedarwood Collective. I have a Facebook that we're slowly getting ready as well. There is an Etsy page attached to my Instagram. And then I'm also participating in the pitch right now through Sarnia Lambton Business Development Center. So that's going on, and you'll be able to see all of the contestants and I being showcased on their platforms at the moment. Definitely check it out and see all of the other local businesses that are looking to help out our community.
That's awesome. And good luck with that.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
I don't know how to